Alright, so to begin with, this is going to be probably a very emotional video for me. I have not really face-to-face talked to a lot of people about this, so it's going to be very hard. Normally I'm typing it and it's just going to be hard for me. To start this also, I do want to continue these videos, but in a different way, in better quality. To help other people with these conditions, because I've been through it. I was young when I was diagnosed with my first one, not that young, but still young when I was diagnosed with my second one. So I know I want to be there to help other people that are younger than me or going through something and they don't know what to do about it or how to talk to someone about it, and also to help other people kind of know what to do around people with these conditions, because people have an issue. I've had friends of mine, like really close friends of mine now, that have finally admitted like how they felt when they found out I had the condition. Like they didn't know what to do. Some of them researched it, read everything about it because they were scared. They didn't know what they weren't scared, but they didn't know how to go about it with me, and they were worried about certain stuff, and they were worried about like what I can do and what I can't do. So I want to be here to voice that, to let other people know, and to help other people. But to start off, for anyone who does not know me, my name is Dakota. I go by Coda. I go by Coates. Hi. My first condition is a brain condition. It is called Arnold-Chiari malformation. Most of us just call it Chiari. Big deal. A lot of people have issues pronouncing it. So people say it differently. So you may hear it in a different format. It kind of, yeah, I call it Chiari, some other people call it some other stuff. So, the reason I'm mentioning that condition was prior to let everyone else know that that is one other condition I will be talking about, and also because my second condition does tie in with this condition, which I know sounds weird, but I'll explain. So basically, this condition, my second one that I have not spoken about on social media, but I have told people over the phone. Some people kind of know. Some people may have guessed just by what had happened. But it is tied in because Chiari has a list of different other conditions that are tied in with it because of every area that I guess Chiari affects. I'm really not 100% sure on that. But I just know that there is like a list that Chiarians also have some other stuff, and sometimes you get lucky and you only have Chiari, or sometimes you, as I call it, you get lucky with Chiari, but maybe not as lucky with the other condition. So, and one other thing I need to state is in no way am I trying to say any other condition is not as bad as this, or that these are like the worst conditions ever. I'm not stating that. This is just me voicing what I've had to deal with and telling people what happens behind the scenes and just stuff like that. So never take it personally if you don't have these conditions, but you have another one and you think I'm never trying to say anything bad about any other condition. That's what I do want to set in stone so that no one gets offended. I don't want to start off exactly saying what the second condition is, but it may be weird and it will sound more, so bear with me. I will tell you what the condition is, but I want to tell you what all had led up to this. To first start off, I was diagnosed with Chiari back in 2012. Yeah, that was a very long time. That's a different story though. In March of 2017 is when my new condition decided to really rear its ugly head. So to begin, the week that it was, because it was a Tuesday of a week, that Monday, I had to go to the neurologist. Typical, I have a brain condition, you know, they want to check on me, make sure I'm still functioning. I don't know. There's a lot on the neurologist stuff, and you'll hear very angry areas of me talking about my own neurologist. Yeah. But I had gone to a neurologist. I had a medication I had been put on for a couple years at that point, and every like couple months they'd up it. They just kept upping it. I had a lot of medication running through my veins. It was nothing bad. It was just something to help with the mini migraines I had every day, because migraines are a very big symptom of Chiari. And then I also have chronic pain from the Chiari. So it was also kind of helping settle some of that so I could kind of, per se, function better and not be in as much pain every day. But I still suffer from the pain very badly. Nothing has changed that for my friends who know. But that was what the medicine was for. And every time I was like, oh, my shoulder's hurting worse, or oh, I'm getting the migraines again, or like the mini headaches as I had called them, they just up it. So they upped it again. Of course, I didn't take it that morning because neurologist was like midday or like late morning, or so. I don't even remember what time it was. But so a little backstory: at this time, my bathroom was being remodeled to where I could not use it. So the next day, I had, gotten up for school, went to my mom's bathroom to take a shower, and I remember I was talking to my mom because I was getting ready to get out of the shower, and she, came in, got in the bathroom, whatever, did whatever she had to do in the bathroom. And she had left the bathroom. I was getting ready to get out of the shower, so, I was, like, ready putting towel on, opening the door back up, and next thing I know, I don't even know what the heck happened. I woke up. My mom has a recliner chair in her room, and I remember waking up in that, and I saw a gurney, and I saw a bunch of guys standing around, which at the time it wasn't, like, clicking, but when I look back, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's paramedics. So I was like, okay, and of course I, like, knocked back out. And then next thing I know, I'm in an ambulance. Yeah. Mom's side of the story, she was walking out of her room, because her bathroom's in her room, so she's walking out, and she heard a thud. And we have one of the step-in showers, because, tub and then shower. So we had step-in shower with the sliding glass doors and all that. So she was leaving, and she thought I had maybe, like, tripped, because a lot of us will do that. We won't pick our feet up enough, especially when it's early morning, and we'll, like, hit her foot or something on the thing. And then she realized, she was, like, had called my name. I didn't answer. So she came back in the bathroom, and apparently I was on the floor, conversing, shaking. I don't remember any of this. This is all coming from my mom. So then, basically, she said, she called me a sack of potatoes. She couldn't flip me over, so she, like, ran through the house, called for my grandfather to come and, like, figure out what the hell was going on at this point, because she couldn't move me. My feet were caught up on the shower portion. She was able to get my feet down before she ran to get my grandfather, and came in. They called 911. They're like, we don't know what's going on, blah, blah, and paramedics had came. Of course, like I said, I woke up, saw it. Apparently, this is a joke we like to make. Apparently, when I'm coming out of these episodes, I don't know who I am or where I am, and I like to fight paramedics. It's kind of funny, but also kind of not in a sense. So apparently I fought them with putting oxygen on me. So yeah, that was funny to wake up in here. I will admit that. When you wake up in an ambulance, you're like, you're fighting paramedics. It's kind of funny. I've woken up, and of course they're waking up as they're trying to put a needle in my arm. First of all, for anyone that knows, I have an issue with needles going into my arm because my veins like to be stubborn. So of course I was like not in it, and I was just like, you're going into the wrong arm, because my other arm's a lot easier to get into, and yeah. So there's that. And then of course, as we're coming out of my neighborhood, mind you, I was getting ready for school. Like, I was taking a shower to get ready to go to school. And, you can see out of the back of an ambulance, because there's, like, the little window, and you just, we pulled out, and there was a school bus behind us, and I was like, what time is it? And my mom looked at the paramedics, and, like, they looked back at each other, and she was like, it's, like, 7 in the morning or something like that. And, of course, I had thought it was, like, nighttime. I didn't even realize I'd taken a shower. Mind you, I was literally in my bathrobe, hair soaking wet, no idea that I'd just taken a shower. And my mom was like, it's 7 in the morning, you were just taking a shower. And I was like, what? Like, I was so lost and confused. And of course, I was scared at that point, because anyone would be, because one, I didn't realize I'd taken a shower. I didn't know what happened. My leg was throbbing because my leg was hurting really bad, because how I fell straight forward. So basically, I had fallen towards my right side, which that's a joke also. My right side is done for. I had fallen towards my right side, landed on like where the doors sit on our shower, and smacked my leg. So my leg, I thought I had cut my leg open. That's how bad it was hurting. Like, I was just in so much pain. And then we had figured out, which obviously, like I said, my mom did not see this. So this is kind of what we had pieced together from the bruising. And so it could be a little bit not exactly, but this is what we had pieced together, was that I had fallen, hit thigh, and then slid. I had a bruise that was slid marked looking down my whole entire calf. So, not fun. So we get to the ER. You know, they send me in for a CT scan, because this is common for when that happens, and I hit my head, and I fell on marble flooring. Yeah. And sent me in for that. I told them about my leg. Never once did they check my damn leg, first of all, which I thought was wrong, and now, never checked it. They looked at my tongue. I bit the hell out of my tongue. But yeah. So, of course, nothing came back. Blood work was fine. Was not pregnant. To anyone that was accusing me of being pregnant, no, I was not. Thank you. It's really aggravating that people kept saying that. They were getting ready to give me pain medicine. Apparently, I don't remember the pain medicine part, because, I mean, it's sketchy. It's been a little over a year. I'm not going to remember every little detail. Yeah, they're getting ready to give me painkillers. And one of the nurses comes in and goes, something, like, worse is coming through. You should get out. Yeah. First of all, I was pissed the hell off at that point, because I'm like, we don't know what just happened. I fell out. And of course, my neurologist was no help. They're like, oh, it's just hormones. The shower was too hot. First of all, did not take that hot of a shower that morning. I can remember that, because that line pissed me off still to this day, that was an excuse they used to not want to do any tests for me. Yeah, and I also had questioned, I was like, how was it hormones when I was shaking and conversing on the floor and I had no idea who I was or where I was when I woke up? No idea concept of what time it was. Hormones, though. So, of course, left, went home. I was out of school for 2 weeks because I was so weak I could not get up. Of course, like I said, my leg was bruised to hell and back. To sit down in a chair hurt. To walk hurt. I literally was in bed for straight 2 weeks. My neurologist finally decides to bring me in for a EEG, which is, they put stuff on my head and stuff. They put me in this room in their office, put a strobe light in front of me, tested me, made me sleep, made me not get a lot of sleep that night. Nothing came back on the results. Which to this day, we have a feeling that my neurologist was the one that read the results, not someone that should technically be the one reading the results. Because my neurologist now, when we had done another test, was like, I don't know how it did not pop up on that test. Like, there's no way that nothing was stated on that test. So, like I said, it's not 100% sure that maybe my old neurologist had just read it and thought, oh, there's nothing wrong with her. There's no point in anyone else reading it. So we don't know, but that is what we have came to the conclusion to, because it makes no sense. Flash forward to August. At this point, my birthday's in August. I just turned 18 on August the 8th. 2 days after, I had taken a nap that day, and my horse had a farrier appointment, and my mom had came in to wake me up because I fell back to sleep after I'd originally gotten up to get ready to go. And she came in, woke me up, was like, hey, you need to get ready. We need to go take care of Ranger. I was like, okay. So, of course, I got up. I was, like, really groggy. I always am. It's a weird, I don't know. And I didn't feel the best, but, I knew once I was up and moving, it would pass. So, I'd gotten up, went to the bathroom, and next thing I know, I had gone in, and I went to go pull my hair up, and then I was turning to get my hat, because how my room was, like, turning and, like, to reach to, yeah. And, my mom said she heard, my cat's, like, toys moving around, and she was like, that's weird, because, like, she had just seen my cat, and, like, or, like, my cat was, like, just with her, or something like that, so it was really confusing. So she decided to come into my room. Again, I was on the floor, conversing and jerking. This time, my feet were stuck in a little ladder thing my cat had on her cat tree, so my feet like to get caught up, apparently. So, of course, again, grandfather, 911, came and got me. This time, I did not wake up at all while I was still in the house. I woke up as I was being put in the ambulance. My mom was like, you went down again. And I, like, had heard her, like, telling the paramedics, like, which arm to do, blah, blah, like, all my details on the easiest way to get my vein. And, of course, as she said that, I was just like, ugh. And just, like, threw my head back, because I was very aggravated. I wanted my... Of course, we went to a different hospital system in a different ER, because at this point, we have said, screw this hospital system, because every little thing, every time I had any problems, it was always, oh, well, we don't know, or, oh, this, like, it was always just BS being fed to me, which, I've mentioned this before, because my friends know which one it is. I do not have anything against anyone who works there, or anything like that. It was just, I had very bad experience with this hospital system. So that is why I'm very anti this hospital system. So we went to that one, and of course, all my test results came clear. This time, this is a funny part. So there was a newbie paramedic training, for that day. And as I was in the paramedics, I was a lot more, like, awake this time. Like, I guess my body was just kind of like, oh, this happened again, whatever. And, my tongue was hurting, like, really bad. So I was like, and they had said I didn't bite my tongue, which the first time I had bit my tongue, like, not as bad, but I had bit my tongue, and, like, obviously I felt it. And so I had asked the one paramedic, I was like, are you sure I didn't bite my tongue? And he's like, let me look, and I, like, moved my tongue over so where he could see where, like, the pain was, and he was like, it was bad. But he looked at the newbie, he's like, she didn't bite her tongue, huh? It was just, like, they were just giving each other a hard time, like, it wasn't, but it was just funny, and of course, like, I was laughing, we were all having a good time. The paramedics in there actually knew what Kieri was, so, of course, because there was a training, my mom couldn't sit in the back with me, so she was actually having a conversation with the paramedic up front about Kieri. It was actually a very fun ride to the hospital, which sounds really bad. But for this one, we had figured out, as I was turning, I had went down, bounced my head now I hit my ribs first, and then bounced my head off my footboard of my bed. I literally thought I cut my head open, because my head was pounding, and it hurt so bad, which I didn't, thank God, but it really hurt, and I had a splitting headache, and I can deal with migraines because of the Kieri, but this migraine, I was just like, give me something, because I was losing it. So yeah, that was the second one. At this point, I was 18 and to go to, a better neurologist, because there was no good pediatric neurologist by me at that time when I had my first episode. So, and because of my age, even though I had Kieri, it was not going to be easy for me to get into a Kieri specialist. So, obviously, I didn't go, we really didn't try it for that factor, and because obviously this wasn't Kieri based at this point, even though I had looked and I had found some stuff that could have been like, oh, this is just Kieri, but they're being idiots and not realizing it, because like I had always been like, it's Kieri, like it's this, it's that, but so basically found a new we can't go straight to a new neurologist, because at this point, for my second episode, my mom didn't even bother calling my old neurologist, because she just didn't care. She would have been like, oh, it's just hormones. we had switched like literally everything, like even my normal doctors. Obviously, like I said, I was moving out of pediatric, so I had gone to a different one. We told them everything that had happened, what my neurologist was doing at that time, what my old neurologist was doing at that time. And she was like, okay. And the thing is that they all knew what it was, but because there was no proof, they could not physically say this is what it is. Like the paramedics knew it from the day they saw me, from my first episode. But because they did not have proof, they could not physically say this is what it was, and they could not physically treat me at that time. So we told her. She was like, you could tell she knew what it was. So she sent me to my new neurologist that I love dearly now. Literally the best person ever. Went automatically sent me in for the for a 72-hour EEG, which that is what I had gotten at the doctor's office at my old neurologist. But this one was different. This was an in-home study. I had 2 cameras on me. I can't remember the exact amount, but I think it was over 20 wires attached to my head and had 2 attached to my chest. I don't actually have any physical pictures of it because I felt very weak at this point, mentally and physically, and just to have all these wires on me. I did not take any pictures of it, but basically, I had wires all over my head. I had gauze all over me to keep all the wires in place, and because like there was like gooey stuff that was coming off after a couple of days, so it was 72 hours with this stuff on. Not fun. I had like the gauze because I had to like strap it down, which you could like move this section, but it was like rubbing my chin and it really hurt. And of course, like I could see when they check in because there's a little laptop and they check in on me and it would like open up and it would like show my brain waves. It was really cool. And then at one point the company had called and they were like, she looks really stressed, and I was like, really? You would be too if you had all these wires on you. You couldn't go outside. You couldn't shower. Yeah. So fast forward to September. September 11th, I had woken up in bed. I did not feel right. And my mom was the one waking me up. And she goes, you had another episode. All I'm saying is thank God I was, in bed. Because I really could not take any more damage to my body at this point. Because the previous one, I had already bruised my ribs. I mean, I'm happy they weren't broken, but bruised ribs really hurt. And of course, at this point, this was around the time that my results should have came in, or was like getting ready to come in around this time. So, my mom had called the neurologist's office, which at this point there was like a hurricane and we were getting like the backlash of it. So it was like really windy, really rainy, and like a lot of places were closed down. So we weren't even sure if they were open. But she'd called, and then he had called her back, and she was talking to him. This is probably where I will get emotional. I might be able to hold it together. I've already filmed this once because I screwed it up, and I did get emotional, so maybe I won't this time. But I remember I went to go lay on the couch, and because obviously I didn't feel good. I felt really weak. I wasn't as bad as the other ones because I didn't hit the ground or anything, so I wasn't in as much pain and as like exhausted, I guess. And I had walked out of my room and went and laid on the couch, and I could hear her on the phone. And the minute she had repeated what he said, I bursted out into tears. Mainly because this has been thrown around. What it was had been stated. So we knew that it was a very high chance that this was what it was. So I had known what my things were. And at this point, I was already not allowed to drive because they didn't know what was going on. And if you know me, I had been driving since the day I was able to start driving. So it was very hard for me to not be able to drive. Because that was some stuff I had to give up. I couldn't really, obviously I couldn't go places by myself. And I had to give like certain stuff up that I normally do because I just didn't want to be a burden to anybody. I had 6 more months that I could not drive. And at this point is that if I had another episode during these 6 months, that's another added on 6 months of not being able to drive. So first, I know it's not a big thing, but that is a big thing in my life, and I really like to drive. So it was very hard on me to hear that I had 6 months to not be able to drive. So if you have not gone on They were seizures. I am technically diagnosed with unspecified epilepsy. But as I heard the seizures come through my mom's mouth when she was on the phone with my neurologist, I did burst out crying. I had completely lost it, and I didn't know what to do. And of course, like I said, I've came to more terms with it. It wasn't that I was embarrassed by the condition at all or anything like that. It was just not something I ever expected to happen. Of course, like I said, I had 6 months of no driving. I had to start being very careful on what perfumes I had worn or whatever, like, scent I was around. I had to be careful with food I eat because they can trigger. I have to sleep more. But if anyone knows me, I have sleeping problems, so that's been tough. Excuse me, I have to be careful when I go to restaurants for the simple fact that one of those things could be in there. I don't actually really like eating out anymore. I go to the same places almost every time I eat out because I'm terrified I'm going to eat somewhere and I'm going to get triggered and I'm going to end up, because the triggers for me is that if I have it, my mom's realized before, my face went like blood red and I just didn't feel the greatest. Like I felt sick and I couldn't really like function right, but I wasn't sick. It was literally just kind of like, I call it my epilepsy side, speaking to me like, hey, you ate something you really shouldn't have. Quit eating it first off and be careful. So that's really annoying. But to get into the reasons why I did not come out and say what this was. When I had first been diagnosed with the seizures and I knew it was epilepsy, I had been, going through social media like normal, and it was like, it's really weird, but all of a sudden, like, a bunch of seizure stuff was showing up, or like people that were making rude comments about it, people thinking it was funny to fake them and all this stuff, and it was just, it hit me hard that I was like, this isn't going to be something that I can just say, and which I know a lot of people support me, all of my friends have been so supportive, but it was one of those things I was just like, I don't want to come out with it right now because I can't look at a joke and not get pissed off or get upset because people don't understand how it really feels to have one of these, or to have them multiple ones and not know what the hell's going on with your body. So, of course, I'd kept it quiet for that reason, and then also, because I already had the Chiari, a lot of people treated me like I was so fragile. Which, I'm not saying everyone did, but a lot of people did, and it's one of those things as I want to be treated normal and worried about. I was worried about people treating me like I was even more fragile than they had already treated me, or was like, just, I don't know, I felt like I was going to be treated differently, for people to know that I had another condition on top of the one I already had that people never knew how to act with me about. And then, of course, during those 6 months of not driving, I didn't go out very much. I kind of saw the same people, like, day by day. Eventually got to the point that I could not go out in public. Like, I could go, but I'd start freaking out. Which I don't want to say it was social anxiety, because I don't have it to say I can have it. But that's how it felt. Like, I'd go out in public and I'd start freaking out. I couldn't breathe. I'd get really, I'd freak out. And of course, like, one of the times I couldn't drive was during Christmas, and everyone knows Christmas time is, like, hectic anywhere you go. And it was closer to Christmas, and I was at a store that was just packed, and I literally had to walk out of the store because I could not stand there. I could not breathe. I was hot. I was burning up. I was, like, feeling like I was going to pass out. I was freaking out. So at that point, that's when I was just like, I didn't want to be around anybody because I didn't want to get out in public. I don't like people driving me. I rather drive, and that's just me. So it was very hard, and I didn't want to feel like a burden to anybody. So that is another reason I didn't say anything, and kind of just hoped that everyone thought I was just too busy. But that is something that I really did not speak a lot about, was the fact that I could not go out in public because I would freak out. I've gotten a lot better with it since I've been driving again, but it is still very difficult for me, and I still do have some spurts if I haven't been out in a long time that I'll go out, and we had realized it was probably mainly because I was worried I was going to have a seizure in the middle of a store and no one know what the hell to do. That was one of the main things that I did have a very big problem with. And then, of course, like I said, I was seeing people making jokes and making epilepsy and seizures sound like just something funny, and it's not. It affects my day-to-day life. I have to sleep more because if I don't get enough sleep, I won't feel good. There's certain times that I literally can't even get out of bed because of how bad I feel because I'm so weak. But that was a lot of the reasons why I didn't, and I didn't, like I said, I didn't want people treating me any differently. So for anyone that knows me, please do not treat me any differently. Obviously be mindful of the fact that, you know, I'm going to be very weird about how I eat, and like I have to be careful about scents. I had told my friends, I've bought them stuff before that I'm like, you can have this, just don't wear it around me because it might trigger, which really sucks. And of course, like there's a lot of stuff I had to give up. Like I can't wear, but yeah. So the second condition, it's epilepsy. It's unspecified. There's a possibility since I was diagnosed with Chiari that it was the seizures that were actually showing, but because the symptoms are so similar to Chiari, the Chiari wasn't one that was spotted. And once they found the Chiari, we were kind of like, okay, and I had, gotten on medicine, it cleared me up, and then that March in 2017, it just all went down. But to put everyone's minds at ease, I was put on medicine after my last seizure, and as of September 11th, I will be a year seizure free, and I cannot be more happier. And I really hope people understand why I didn't want to say anything, and just don't treat me any differently. If something's going on, I will tell you, so you don't need to be overprotective if you're around me or anything like that. Just act like you normally would. If something's wrong, I will physically tell you something is wrong. But that's what it was. Like I said, I'm hoping to maybe get some more in-depth on this stuff and maybe find some people that will be up to interviewing and sharing their own stories to help other people. But yeah, I officially have a party going on in my brain since Chiari has part of it fallen out. Epilepsy is overactive.